Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to National Matters. I am your pastor and your host. 25th of October, 2021. 57 years from the day we got independence. 57 years and one day. We are still looking at certain issues that we've got to fix and bring into the right perspective. And in the studio with me is Mr. THABO KAWANA, who is the UPND Alliance Media Director.
Yes, Pastor.
Welcome to the program, Mr. KAWANA.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful for the invitation.
Welcome back home, should I say?
Yes, this is home and it feels like home.
It feels like home. Mr. KAWANA, take me through. How was it to celebrate 57 years in government, not as opposition?
Well, it was a beautiful moment, but at the same time, a self-reflecting moment, an introspection, because we came into government at a time that the Zambian people are very pregnant with expectations. And they are in a hurry to see things done and in a hurry to see results. Process is not being appreciated, and you will understand that this is owing to the fact that we are a youthful nation, and the majority of our citizens are young people, and you can never attribute patience to young people.
No, you can't.
So you have all these expectations that seemingly are unmet. But we have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of conscientizing to do, a lot of educating to do, so that our young people and the general populace can understand that things are being done and things will be good, and in no time at all we'll be happy that they made this decision.
I'm so glad to have you here. I know that you are not the president, you are not the minister, but you are the rightful person to shed light on what goes on in this nation. I don't know whether we need seminars to both viewers, us television owners and what, I don't know. But what I'm saying is this: I have been around the leadership from time of Dr. Kaunda. When you were in the opposition, we, the media, we were told we are for the ruling government. And now that you are in power, we are being told we are for UPND. What makes the people think like that?
Well, I think it is important to understand that the media plays the role of referee or mirror to society, and therefore those that have information to give and those from which the populace demands information have to come to the media, and you are just a conduit. Now, the ones charged with the responsibility to give the information are the media, the government. And those charged with the responsibility to ask the questions on behalf of the people of Zambia are the opposition, for example. So, of course, the one that is giving answers talks a bit more than the one who's asking the questions. Even in this interview, you are asking me questions. By the time we evaluate the end of this program, I would have spoken more than you have.
Absolutely.
Therefore, the one who speaks more is viewed to say you are being favored because the media is covering you more. But that is because it's your responsibility to give the information. It is not correct for the people and us as political players to begin to deem the media, to accuse them of having taken sides with the ruling parties because we feel they are giving them too much coverage. If there are issues that need to be explained to the nation, it is not the role of the opposition to explain. The role of the opposition is to ask, is to question, is to provide the check, And the government provides the balance. And you as a media provides the platform. So I think it is not correct that we must blame the media.
I was going to bring three or four messages that have been sent to us as KAWANA TV, being hypocritical, to say, why do you want to cover the UPND now that you have seen they are in power? You never allowed them to be on KAWANA. And you as media director, would you attest to the fact that we blocked your...
I think it would be folly to suggest that when we were in opposition, we were blocked, particularly on this media or many other media. I think we put our message across to the Zambian people using especially the private media, especially the so-called small media. And KAWANA TV is one of those television stations that we featured on prominently. I think personally myself and other people within the UPND Alliance were on your news throughout, to a point where I remember that colleagues in the opposition PF now, but then in power, suggested that we have bribed the KAWANA TV. So it is not correct to say that. I can safely say to you here that KAWANA TV is among the media institutions that won us this election, because they gave us an opportunity to speak to the Zambian people, unabated, unedited. And we reached out to the Zambian people. They heard our message. We secured the buy-in through your channels, and today we are here. So it is folly to suggest that when we were in opposition, we were blocked. We were never blocked.
No, I'm glad that it's coming from you as the Alliance Media Director, and because some Zambians forget easily, and people have no clue. I always, when I was asked that you as UPND, you want to advertise here, I said to our administrator Lillian, I said, all those people, don't look at them from the political point of view. They are my church members. The PF are my church members. UPND are my church members. Why should I segregate? Give them the platform and let them go. And that is my belief, that as KAWANA, we should not look at people from different angles. We look, are they able to speak? Are they able to articulate issues? Let them come. As long as they don't insult. As long as they don't say things which will offend people and they can't defend themselves. Whether PF, UPND, please let them go ahead. And I'm so glad to have you here, Mr. KAWANA, to ride on that freedom of speech. Do you see a situation, now you as a UPND in government, do you see a situation where you think the media is taking sides when we start bringing these politicians who want to say certain things?
Not at all. In fact, it delights us to see different political players come onto the media to say what they have to say. Because it is not everything that our opposition will say that is irrelevant. From what they say, you're able to pick one or two things. There are things you can fix after having been told by the opposition that you may not have been aware of, and the opposition raise the matter, and you as government pick it and you fix it. So that is why President Hakainde Hichilema was very, very categorical in his first briefing held at Community House, when he instructed ZNBC, for example, as a national broadcaster, that you must at all times give equal coverage to all, including the opposition. We do not want to go through what we went through.
Absolutely.
We were not allowed to be on ZNBC. We were not captured in their news for anything positive. If you hear UPND in the news, it's that people have defected from UPND and have gone to PF, but nothing positive. So the president was very categorical to tell ZNBC, you are a public broadcaster, you are driven by the public, and all players are public people, and therefore you must allow everybody to feature on your station. That has been demonstrated. Even just last week, when he was receiving credentials from various diplomats accredited to this country, again he said to them, please feel free to talk to anybody in this country. You want to talk to the private sector, go ahead. You want to talk to the opposition, go ahead. We had a situation where if a diplomat speaks to the opposition like UPND, they were threatened with persona non grata, they were insulted. Remember the scuffle that happened with the US ambassador that resulted in us not having a full ambassador up to now. It is only now that the US government is sending an ambassador to Zambia again. We had several diplomats that were literally kicked out of the country for speaking to the opposition. And the president said, we went through that. And we don't want anybody else to ever experience what we experienced. So it is important that we allow everybody space, and this is what we have done. We walk the talk.
No, we are very grateful to that, and I think, if I may recollect, it was the U.S. ambassador, I think, crossed lines with our former president on the homosexuality issue, which he supported. And he said, no, 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 as a government we believe this, as Africans we believe this. I think that was where he crossed the lines against a sovereign state. But I'm so glad to hear that you are sticking to according the people freedom of information, freedom of speech. That said, you came in as UPND on the message, one of the messages, to unite the nation. To unite the nation. I want to ask Mr. Kawana, how much are you doing to bring, for example, President Edgar Lungu to come closer? Because this doesn't happen in most countries. When somebody leaves, they become like enemies. I don't know why. The reconciliation, if it starts with President Edgar Lungu, or should I say, I'll give an example. I'm the former president, you are the incoming president. Even if I've got issues, I've got certain things to answer, to account for my administration, that does not stop you from inviting me to come and have a cup of tea with you, while you allow the law or the agencies or whatever doing their work, but you just say, Pastor Chuba, come, let's have a cup of tea together. Do you see a situation like that in Zambia?
I know a situation like that does exist, because I can tell you confidently, and through you, the nation, that President Hakainde Hichilema harbors no ill feelings towards former President Edgar Lungu. I think you have seen from the way he has handled government that he has strictly called for no retribution. He has strictly called for no revenge, because one would have expected that now that we are in office, the kind of things that we went through under the leadership of President Lungu, it is our time to hit back. And here is a president who comes on the scene and said, if it was bad done to us, it means it is bad us doing it to others, including those that did it to us. I think there lies the true intention of the leader. And it tells you that he harbors no ill intentions towards the former president. 2 occasions have passed so far, what I would refer to as missed opportunities. We had the day of national prayer and reconciliation. We would have expected that despite the president having been out of town that day, we would have expected that former President Lungu would have commemorated that day at the showgrounds. I think that is where he was even expected, even on the program, so that then he would have been there with Vice President Nalumango. But of course, he worshipped in another church elsewhere. I think it's a missed opportunity. We had a function yesterday at State House, and it would have been good to see President Lungu attend.
Was he invited?
Of course he was invited. There's no way he cannot be invited. That is why you saw former Vice President Inonge Wina there. That is why you saw former Inspector General of Police Kanganja there. And you know how we cried under the leadership of Kanganja. And you know how we felt that Kanganja was out to get us, and, you know, I don't want to use the word kill, but out to get us. Okay? But,
Yeah.
but you saw that he was at State House because he was invited. So former President Lungu also was invited. So it was another missed opportunity, but it would have been lovely. But I take comfort, having watched Sunday interview last night, and I saw former President Rupiah Banda, and he gave an account of what transpired during that transition period, how he called President Hakainde Hichilema for a meeting, and President Hichilema followed him to his house. And while he's at the house, President Banda and President Hichilema, President-elect, or leading candidate then, not even President-elect yet, spoke. President Banda suggested and asked President Hichilema if he could call President Lungu and put him on loudspeaker so that the three of them could have a conversation. And President Hakainde said, please, Your Excellency, go ahead. He's my brother. There's no harm. And President Rupiah Banda called President Lungu, put him on loudspeaker. Even President Lungu's reaction was, how are you, Your Excellency? You know, I'm here sitting with your brother Hakainde. Oh, how is Hakainde? No, you're on loudspeaker. President, how are you? And if you saw the interview, President Banda said it was at that point he felt it is done. Because President Lungu referred to President Hakainde Hichilema, Mr. President, how are you? And they agreed on a meeting, and again the three of them met in the presence of two former presidents, Jakaya Kikwete and the other, I think it's Sierra Leone, former president, and they had a meeting without aides. There was no assistant there, just them. And President Banda said, when we are in such a meeting, we refer to ourselves as brothers. And it was the brothers that sat there and talked and agreed. And one of the things that President Hakainde said in that meeting to President Lungu was that he admired the way President Lungu looked after late President Kaunda and President Rupiah Banda. And he said in that meeting that he will emulate President Lungu and also look after President Rupiah Banda very well, and him as former president.
Really?
And you have seen that today, President Lungu has not yet relinquished his position as PF leader. Under the Constitution, by now you would have had moves from government saying, we will no longer pay your rentals because you are still active, and the Constitution is clear. You're active in politics, we won't pay your rentals. But you won't hear that acrimony. President Lungu lives in peace. The government's taking care of him. He has all the benefits that go with the office of the former president. So I think that tells you that there's a bigger person in President Hakainde Hichilema. He means well, he means no harm, and this is a very great step in uniting the nation, because the unity starts with the leaders. And if the leaders are disjointed, there is no way the country can be joined. One of the problems we saw in the history of our country is your brother, Dr. Chiluba, and Dr. Kaunda shared a very acrimonious relationship.
I know.
And that relationship kept growing and growing and growing, and we never achieved that brotherhood. It was always, even when they meet, you only see one hand, because every one of them had a dagger behind and saying, make a move, make a move.
Yeah.
But this time around, it is different. President Hakainde Hichilema means well, and that is why he's looking after his elder brother, President Lungu, very well. He's looking after President Rupiah Banda very well. You know, President Rupiah Banda announced to the nation that he was unwell, he had colon cancer, and he keeps going out of the country to Dubai, to hospital, to go and get his chemotherapy, and government is facilitating all that. And it started with President Lungu, and in the words and actions of President Hakainde Hichilema, who said, I will emulate, it has continued.
And also President Mwanawasa, you remember he flew President Sata out of
Yes, you do recall that President Sata and President Mwanawasa were arch enemies.
Yes.
And we are told that President Mwanawasa, while at the gym, was told that Sata had collapsed. And since he was putting pressure on him, I want to imagine that the people that went to tell him, the officers that went to tell him that Sata had collapsed, wanted Mwanawasa to say, hey,
Let him die.
But President Mwanawasa said, right now, he phoned PS Health, Dr. Simon Miti then, said, right now, evacuate the man, get him the best services, I want him to leave. And he was evacuated South Africa. And they true to his testimony, when he came back from South Africa, he says, you know, Levi, I know you, but I didn't know you. Now I really know that you're a true brother. And it is from that moment onwards, that life-saving moment, that President Sata and President Mwanawasa became brothers.
Absolutely. And best of friends.
Best of friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Mr. THABO, I can tell you, me, I'm a pastor. And I've been a pastor since 1982, you know. I've served the leaders in this nation one-on-one. Beginning Dr. Kaunda, that we were so close that even when he was President Chilwa was being introduced in State House, this is what. I was with the former President Kaunda, may so rest in peace. That closeness. But one of the things that I always look forward to see is the peace and love to prevail. When Dr. Kaunda died, I've shared this before, when Dr. Kaunda died and we were at Cathedral of the Holy Cross, you know, before the body viewing, you remember President HH sat on the other side. You were in that group?
No, I wasn't.
He sat on the left of the cathedral, and the president was on the right side, President Lungu. And when President Hakainde Hichilema stood up there to go and greet the president, he stood for about 3-4 minutes. Protocol people, they could not allow HH to go and greet him. It was very embarrassing. And where I sat with my wife, I said, you see, we know. What if tomorrow he becomes president? And I felt so bad because if you now you are in the government, that's why I'm referring to you. If you artificial protocols, even when you know Pastor Chiluba is your pastor, you wouldn't bring me near because you are president, because you are minister. Hi, Pastor Chiluba, see you later. Those are artificial protocols. I felt so bad. True to my word, a week after, in fact, I read on the president's comment, HH, when we went to the cemetery to put Dr. Kaunda at that presidential park. President Lungu came and he went and greeted all members of the opposition on his own accord. He moved and greeted HH, he greeted everyone. But if you remember on the President HH page, he said the outgoing president just met the incoming president. That was before.
Yes.
I said this is the power of positive confession.
we were in high gear of politics.
You and I.
but even just on that topic, you will recall that at one time former Chief Justice Matthew Ngulube refused to greet President Michael Sata, then in opposition, in the cathedral. He extended his hand to greet the former Chief Justice. The former Justice refused, I can't greet you. Months later, the man was President of the Republic of Zambia. Being sworn in by the same man who couldn't greet him. So in politics, that is why we say there are no permanent enemies and there are no permanent friends. And sometimes our leaders are as humane as they are. But it is us, the people that serve them, that do things overboard. We want to protect them from what is not harmful to them. We want to keep people away from them when they want to be with the people. So sometimes these so-called protocols are not necessarily protocols, but the misconduct of protocol officers, the misconduct of overzealous officers. And that's one thing you will note in this administration, that President Hakainde Hichilema will not tolerate overzealous government officers. They will be kept in check. They will do their work accordingly, but they will not impose mannerisms that exacerbate disunity in the country. So our clarion call, our rallying point around us forming government was two major things. Unite the country and fix the economy. And the president remains emphatic on this. He keeps saying, number one duty call, unite the country, fix the economy. Are we uniting the country? When I sit, I look at the recently held by-elections. Of course, there were small reports here and there of violence here and there, debatable violence in Kaombwe and Lusangazi. But generally, these were the most peaceful by-elections in the recent past held in the country.
There was no bloodshed.
There was no bloodshed. There were no pangas. There were no violent attacks. Of course, we saw one or two things which I can dispute. As a political party media director, I can say, look, I saw the vice president of PF, Rubinda, claim that our people attacked him, they broke his vehicle and so on. I can say to him that it is on our people, and we checked, and it has nothing to do with us. But we also do recall that given Rubinda as Minister of Justice in this country, driven by a police officer and guarded by a police bodyguard, was beaten by his own cadres as a minister. So what would stop his cadres, doing that to him again this time around? Especially that we hear among their circles, they say, "Wakaso, tafuni endalam," and the PF cadres are spoiled for money. So that is an issue we really don't want to dwell into, but to distance our party, that those violent attacks had nothing to do with us. This was the most peaceful election. What was the score that showed that we are now beginning to get dividends in our effort to reunite the country? It's a ward election that we won in Mwansabombwe, in a province predominantly a PF stronghold, where all the members of parliament are PF, all the council chairpersons are PF, all the ward councillors are PF. This election, last Thursday.
Oh, last Thursday?
Yes. So we won. So for us, that is not a victory of having scooped a seat. It is a victory of us seeing that the people of Zambia are buying into our message, that we are one Zambia, one nation. And the stronghold of any political party is in Zambia and not a particular area. So anyone can stand anywhere. By the time we do 10 years of Againde Ichirem, we'll have a situation where Pastor Chiluba will go and stand in Monze, where Kawana will go and stand in Lundazi, where Muvita will go and stand in Mapula. That's what we are going to achieve by the end of the 10 years of President Againde Ichirem. And that is going to be built upon by the next 4 presidents that will come from UPND, because we are very certain that with the way we shall deliver, the people of Zambia will give us 5 presidents doing 10 years each. So we know that our friends can come back after 50 years.
I like your pessimism.
But I sat in this studio and I told you we are winning this election.
Yes,
and
yes,
I said, where are you getting that confidence? I know. But the way we shall deliver for the people of Zambia, they will give us an opportunity. And like the president says, and I want to re-echo, we don't get into power. We get into office. The power always remains with the people. That is why every 5 years we go before them anew and ask them to renew our mandate or give us an opportunity to take over the realms of office. So we know that we are not in power, we are in office. And we are certain that by the time we do the 10 years of President Againde Ichirem, the people of Zambia will give us an opportunity to remain in office with the next 4 presidents. Among them, maybe myself.
I like that. You have jumped it. You are going to 10. There is 5 years. First the mandate for 5 years, then another 5 years.
This one goes without saying.
That
this one we shall sweep, because the people of Zambia will be so happy with what they will see. You can see that there's a lot of discontent, there's talking, that is the level of the pregnancy of expectation. But you will see that very soon we'll begin to meet it. And by the time we hit 3-4 years, we would have met it to the expectation of the people. By the time we go to 5 years, we will not campaign in 2026. We will continue working and we'll tell the people of Zambia, you will tell us to stop, or continue, but we are working. We have no time and money for campaigns. We are just working. Those who want to campaign, let them campaign, and the people will still vote us back.
I like that confidence. You sound like you are my church member. That's what I teach about positive confession. But I want to go back, Mr. Kawana. There are two groups that I don't like. When I say I don't like, I like them, but they misbehave sometimes. For example, the two groups, number one, first are cadres. I've spoken this station time without number, and I even appealed to my brother, the former IG, that please catch these cadres. They are becoming criminals. I'd witnessed things in the name of cadreship. Just come, grab that plot, grab that, and you are just watching them like this. Others have even built houses. People ran away from their plots. Nibakada. On the road, Pali road block, that spirit, it be PF, it be UNIP, it be UPND, Mr. Kawana, I'll never tolerate cadres. I don't know. Fiafi nena patenda, you know lies in that.
Yes, yes.
If an apatana I don't like because they irritate. Okula pitano, okula stefinto and I think that spirit must be dealt with. I say this before I go to the next group, because President HH from the community house, he says no cadreism. It went down. Now we have seen again the emerging of UPND cadres, Papakat, Avaleuma Bantu, and making them in South Lungu. You've seen those clips, say this against Lungu, what, that kind of thing. I know that it's not as bad as it used to be, but cadres, what are your views to those people who are thinking now they are in power, they should revenge?
I think our cadres are disciplined enough. President Hakainde Hichilema in opposition said to President Lungu that, look, these cadres, we are turning ourselves into a lawless country, and the police are scared of them, and they won't do anything. They can go to an elderly couple's farm, maybe say in Lusaka West or Makeni or Lusaka East, and just begin to demarcate land and sell it off as plots. This is somebody's land on title. And they were let go like that, free. And President Lungu really did not do much in that aspect. President Hakainde Hichilema said to President Lungu while he's in opposition, my brother, stop your cadres. Your word is enough. And he gave him an example that President Manawasa had this problem. He gave a word and it stopped.
Even President Sata.
Yeah. So when he became president, that was the first thing he did. He gave a word. And it has stopped. What you are seeing now, the remnants, like the president explained during his presser, is that even when you're stopping something, they are to my remnants. Even when you've dealt with a lot of people that have come to you, Pastor, and they are sick, and they receive healing through the word and through medication, you will see that even as they heal, there are still smaller symptoms that remain, and they are disappearing one by one until the person is whole. So even in this case, our cadres have been stopped and they have not engaged. I can't say they have stopped because they were never involved. Their opportunity came when we won. But as soon as we won, the president says this will not be tolerated. So our cadres didn't start. But remember that you had these cadres from PF who for a long time lived through that. All they did is wake up in the morning, go to the market, levy people, go to people's homes, cut plots, sell, have money. So all of a sudden they had no income. And what do? They get regalia for UPND, they put it on, and they go out there and continue to want to misbehave. But now in the name of UPND. But because our cadres have been stopped, and police have been freed to make sure that they deal with anybody that is breaking the law, they are being arrested. Even as we speak now, those cadres misbehaving are being arrested. But what is coming out strongly is that they are still the same PF cadres, only now in UPND regalia. Even in the market, so that go back to want an attempt to collect money. People, the marketeers themselves, already know by name. So they said, no, this Evans was here. Now in a UPND ticket. This is a guy who was a PF chairman here and collecting money and a violent character. And now he came here in a UPND ticket. The same Evans. So the police have moved in and they're arresting these people. So in as much as we have these small incidences still popping up, I can assure you that you can rest assured that it is done. It's over. Gone are the days of cadreism. Gone are the days of lawlessness. The president has made it very clear. We have come to raise the bar. And the bar has been raised so high, no matter how good at high jump one is, these cadres can't reach. Therefore, they remain caged.
The second group, Mr. Kawana, is the group you referred to who surround the president and yourself. This is just a piece of advice to you as the government. Not that I will need a job. I'm not asking for a job. God has already called me and I'm comfortable. If it was a job like some preacher friends of mine who want to be politician, I could have gotten it in Kaunda. I could have gotten it in President Sata. But I am not looking for a job. But there are certain things, Mr. Kawana, which your system may not even tell you. But I can tell you something which can be good for you. The people who surround the president, please, as a new Dawn government, make sure you don't just look at faces, oh, he's Pastor Chiva, let him go. Oh, he's Pastor so keep him there. God should give you discernment so that you understand this country is too big for one person or for the few cabinet minds. I say this because I'm forever grateful. I hope the young lady is watching as I speak. I had gone to State House. President Sata called me on emergency. Said, Pastor, please come. I went to State House. I found this young lady crying in that, at the gate in that house. As I was waiting to be cleared, she said, Pastor Chiva, are you going to see the president? I said, yes, ma'am. Says, can I give you a note so that you take to President Chiva? I said, no, ma'am, they are these officers. I left that lady, went, met with the president, came back. The following day, there was an issue. I was comparing notes with him. I go, I find the same lady crying there, pleading, Officer na papa ataniwoneka president. Story short, Mr. Kawana. I said, Madam, what's your name? She told me the name. I didn't know what she was going through. The moment I met the president, I said, sir, there is a lady I've met twice at the gate. Her name is this. And the president said, what is she looking for? I said, I didn't ask the officers, but yesterday she was crying, today she was crying. And said, did you get the name? I said, yeah. The moment I told him, he picked the phone, called the desk and said, do you have a lady by this name? At yes, to bring her here. And I'm glad that I was seeing it happening. The lady comes in and then she tells the president and says, Mr. President, my mother and father died. I have qualified to go to university. I've got siblings. I don't want to go in prostitution. But if I don't get educated, I go into prostitution, I will die of AIDS. I just want the government to help me get to university. I have no money. And she started crying. But after listening to this story, he just said, Lekokulir, stood up behind this desk, got a bunch of money, and said, here's the money. Give me your name and everything. That is for your use. You go there, I'm going to pay for you, because as you are rightly saying, if you go into prostitution, ukashava ichebovekunsi. gave him the money, got the phone number, and said, this is my phone number. Should anything happen, call me. Mr. Kawana, that lady stood up. She collapsed in the chair. She started crying. The president said, go. She stood 3 times. She had no strength. She could not believe it that the president is solving that problem. But he said, I'm going to pay for you until you go to school. May his soul rest in peace. Now you can imagine that picture has remained with me. There are people who are born for greatness, who may want to talk to the president, who may want, not just that lady, but I hear a lot of things. But the way you people surround the president, when I say you, I'm making you as a reference,
yes.
Understand me?
Yes.
And the way people surround the president. President Sata said, Pastor Chiluba, walishwechole sabikira mashirune fuga mu country. I said, no, Mr. President. He says, Ishiru can tell you as it is. Nangu kulia walifo kuipas president, Ishiru liachweko waleta planet liakweva. But the intelligence, it will take time. You should not say, Yulishiru ichipuba. God knew why he put them there. And you must have time for everyone. I learned a lot of things from that man and other presidents. I just meant to say that, Mr. Kawana, that like you rightly said, sometimes you overprotect the presidents. I just thought I should bring that to your attention, yes. That you know.
Yes, no, I'm grateful. In fact, that is a very touching incident. But I'll tell you that in as much as there are some overzealous officers that overprotect and, you know, overemphasize on protocols, I think it is also important to understand, and we need to conscientize the people through your station, how you get to meet a president. You write the letter, you state what you want to see the president for.
Reason why, yeah.
You deliver the letter, and it will be screened. There are many people that are in charge of doing that. It will be screened, and depending on what they screen, sometimes you may not even see the president. They will rechannel that request to the correct office. You may find that it is a case that could have easily been, for example, the case that you've just given. If that young lady had written the letter and the officers had screened it and knew why she was coming to State House every day, they would have gotten the same letter, stamped it with the State House stamp, and put a comment and send it to higher education then. And it goes to bursaries. And she's given 100% bursaries without seeing the president, but the government machinery has worked. So it is very important that people get to understand what it means to meet a head of state. Sometimes it is not always that you will need to meet the president, but there are cases where you need to meet the president. And I can tell you that, speaking for my president, I go to his house a lot, I go to the State House a lot, and every time I go there, I meet different kinds of people, affluent people and poor people, especially people that are seemingly poor, because it's not in my province to judge someone that this one is poor, this one is affluent. But people that are seemingly underprivileged, I see them a lot at State House, I see them a lot at Community House, and if I meet you in the foyer at State House, it means you are a step away from seeing the head of state. I also check through his Facebook page the pictures that people take with him at State House, and these are different people, people with different abilities, people with different, from different sectors of society. They take pictures with the president, and even the president's Facebook page also updates and shows, well, the president made this one, made that one, made that one. So maybe two things. One, we need to understand the protocols involved, how we do it to meet the president, but also we need to understand that it is not everybody. You can imagine the president is a president for 18 million people. So if, for example, he's given an opportunity to meet all the 18 million people, even you, as Pastor Shirunga, your church is very big, and a lot of people want to come and see you. There are some people who want to come and see you, and your assistants tell you, this one is looking for this, and you refer the person maybe to a mama So no, let her see my wife. This one, oh, okay, let her see my secretary. This one, let her see the director of, because you also can't meet everybody in your congregation.
Yeah, no, that is true, Mr. Kano. I'm making reference to obvious cases, which I know you are in power. You are talking about 10 years from now and
50 years.
50 years
Yes,
in power. You see that some cases are genuine.
Very.
You cannot refer to the minister
in fact,
or to the...
No, Pastor, in fact, all cases are genuine. All cases are genuine. But now, it depends on the issue at hand. Where will it be solved quickly? Because if, for example, you are looking for a bursary and you want to see the president about it, it will be quicker for you to be referred to the correct office than it would for you to wait to meet the president on the queue.
Absolutely.
So it is about delegated authority that the president exercises. When you have gone to see the minister or the PS, you have seen the president.
But that case of that young girl I told you?
Yes.
She,
for me, from what you have explained. No, for
refused.
me. Oh, the minister refused.
They refused, and she had been there. She saw the minister. It wasn't coming.
Yeah, that
so
is,
the only alternative
yes,
she remained with was to see the president.
So that was an act of desperation because she was failed by a system. And your caution is timely. That even as we are fresh in government, we must never allow a situation where systems begin to fail our people. Because when we have a situation where everybody wants to see the president, everybody's problem has to be solved by the president.
No.
Then we have failed the people.
There will be no time for him to work here.
Then we have failed the people because the people are siphoned through and the president exercises delegated authority. That's why the people of Zambia give him the authority and then he begins to break it down and delegate it. He gives his minister, he gives his permanent secretary, under the PS is the director, under the director is the principal officer and so on. And the government system is supposed to work for the people. And when the government system stops working for the people become desperate because their servant is the president. Nobody voted for a PS. Nobody voted for a minister. Nobody voted for a director. The people voted for the president. And that is their servant. So when the PS, the director, the minister fail them, the system fails them, they have but one route to go back to their servant and say, my servant, I am facing this. Why am I not being attended to? And once we begin to see that, then it is a signal on our part that our systems have failed the people, and therefore we have failed the people.
That is very correct. And the other thing, just within the system, Mr. Kawana, I just want to appeal through you to the president and the entire system. Some of the people, I think, not that I think, I've dealt with a lot. Others are hanging in there with no papers, no qualifications. They don't know what to do next. If you want witchcraft, you know, they just use juju. They have no idea to move this nation from point A to point B. But you find they have got these big titles in the government. As long as they have a Prado, you must flush out witches also, because that it's found in the army, it's found in the police, it's found in national service and the civil servants. Those people, allow me to say that there are a lot of riffraffs, sorry to say that, but you cannot win and develop the nation.
Well, I think you have also seen that one of the things the president has taken time on is to replace people in government offices. And he has been very categorical that he's been careful and methodical. And he has been widely misunderstood by a lot of people, including ourselves, as members of the UPND Alliance. We have misunderstood our president. You know, but look, you are taking too long. These people are not, there are still PF people in the offices. We won, but we still have PF people in the offices. But if we remember well, at his last presser, he made it very clear that, look, we didn't take over government through a coup. We went through an election. So we underwent a process, and we arrived at where we are. Allow me to undertake the process to make us arrive where we should go. So it doesn't mean that because these people are still in offices, therefore they will not find time exit. They will find exit. In fact, through your station, I can confidently tell the people that watch this week, starting today, Monday. This week, watch it, and next week. All this talk about, hey, it's not appointing PSA, it's not doing this. Watch these 2 weeks. You see what is going to happen. So you have to move systematically. You change the principal officers, and then you begin to come to work yourself downwards. So it doesn't mean that because they are still in office today, then there's no exit for them. The exit will come. And you see, there's this talk that the president is only looking at those people with papers. Is it the people with papers who campaigned for him? Us, we have no papers, but we are the people who campaigned. But we must look at it in this way. We have a shambolic economy today, because like you have rightly put it, it is in the hands of riffraffs, or a word, in the hands of riffraffs holding high office. President was clear, he said it is time to apply high standards to high office. It is better to get qualified people to do the correct job, get them in the offices to do the job correctly, so that when that job is done correctly, it fixes the economy. When the economy is fixed, everybody finds space in it. Paper, no paper. Graduate, grade 1 dropout. You find space in the economy because it begins to work for everybody. So must we have a situation where a few riffraffs have the economy working for them because they can afford the high prices, they can afford because they have high salaries, they can afford because they are corrupt individuals? No. He's here for all Zambians. He's the president for all Zambians, 18 million plus. So his role is to put together a team of men and women that will run the country correct. The running core is to do the correct thing. When you do the correct thing, even the result is correct. And when the result is correct, the benefit is to all and not a few. So during this process of putting in the correct people to get to the correct result, the patience wears thin, and a lot of speculation kicks in. And then there's all this comfort feeling among the people that he's only dealing with people educated, he's only dealing with the elite. No. The process that he is undertaking will result in a benefit for all of us, because when the economy is gotten straight, as it will be gotten straight under this administration, your cost of living lowers. So you can afford that chicken. You can afford that egg.
But Mr. Kawana, the president is not here. You are bringing this issue. I am not a person in this church, and where I've been. I wish I had the privilege to go and get the degrees, and I wanted to be a medical doctor. But my parents and the economy could not allow me. So academically, I did not excel. You see, the grace of God has brought me where I am. I know what education can do. America, Japan, they are not just there because they are cadres. You need people who are educated. Right now, my wife and I are surrounded by about 16 professors. This agriculture thing, you watch on our TV, the one we are pushing. When President Chagwalungu was there, I took a team there. They put the projector there. And the things that we have put, we can generate $5 to $8 billion through local people. And we have the market. I went to the Minister of Commerce then, Honorable, what's his name? He was in Commerce. And I said to him, sir, open up the market. We have got this network. Let's push this. But of course, before long, the President Lungu just said, Pastor Chuba, I'll go with this. Our people need to be to benefit from this. Leaving State House, few months later is out of State House, and people said, oh, he went to get brown envelopes. Anyway, those mines, they will be in the country, whether you like them or not. But what I'm saying is, these 16 professors who surround us, when you sit and they are talking about this economy, it sounds like porridge. 2 of them were advisors to Magufuli. One is a foreigner, one is a Zambian, highly qualified. 7 degrees in international whatever, and Magufuli, even Museveni, would consult a Zambian, but they come here simply because he is from Mungule and is here seated, and the nation doesn't know that. Why would I prefer to be a minister of finance where I am, leaving somebody who is qualified? I think that is not a genuine cry. When they say, no, the president is going for papers, why would he not go for them? If there is something wrong here, we need people who understand issues. Academics, Mr. Kawana, don't apologize and don't feel sorry. It's not about UPND, UPF, it's not about anyone. It's about the nation.
Yes.
You know.
But it is also important to understand that for us who are in politics, academics is not a big issue. It is a big issue in government. Because government has to provide for everybody.
That's right.
But the politics, we do it for ourselves. And you understand that the people feel, now that we did the politics and we have formed government, therefore we must be given jobs, because our colleagues who were in that political party were given the jobs despite them having no qualifications. Some couldn't even speak English, they couldn't read, they couldn't write, but they were
not even spelling their names.
Yes, they were big officials. I also want to take the opportunity to speak to our people, to understand that, number one, the PF constitution as a political party is actually the unique constitution, word for word.
Oh, really?
Yes, just find UNIP and replace with PF. The rest is the same. And that is why within their constitution, it is mandatory that all state-owned institutions, state-owned enterprises, parastatals to say, and government positions will be occupied by party stewards. It will be occupied by their cadres. So when they did that, they were fulfilling their own constitutional mandate as a political party.
Really?
That clause does not exist in our UPND Alliance Manifesto. And in the UPND Manifesto or the UPND Constitution, if you like, or any of the Alliance partners, does not have such a clause in the various constitutions. And therefore, it is important that we allow the president to put in offices people that are qualified for the jobs so that they do the right thing, so that when they get it right, all of us benefit. I may not be educated, but I have an entrepreneurial mind. And I can be very successful to a point where, through my businesses, I'm able to employ educated people to run the business and grow my money.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Most of the billionaires in this world are college dropouts. Bill Gates, what, name them. They're college dropouts. But they employ college professors and graduates because they have the entrepreneurial mind. That's what President Hakainde Hichilema is saying to the Zambian people. Let me get it right so that it benefits all of us. We create an environment where all of us are able to benefit regardless.
That's right. This is what I'm supporting, Mr. Kawana.
Yes.
Exactly the way you have put it. I'll give an example of myself. I don't know anything about farming. When we began 2.5 years ago, my wife and I have just been pushing this because we believe that every person was born for greatness. Now, I reach here, I cannot understand the next step. This is where I need you, technocrats. And people will come and say, no, Pastor, you cannot grow cassava in this soil. This soil needs this. Take it to Mount Makulu Research Center so that they can tell you what can grow where. Don't just plant because it's soil. Now, the people who went to university, who went to colleges to study soil analysis, we can't just put them aside. and say, yo, if you never lady, and it will grow. Agriculture has gone scientific. So I'm agreeing with you that while we are doing this, even my wife and I, that's why I said we are surrounded by professors. What I do not understand, and when these people are talking, they'll tell you this is just, when I come here, I am talking, they think, oh, Pastor Chiluba is knowledgeable. No, it's in the background. There are people like yourself advising me. This is why I'm saying, even the government, you don't have to apologize as a government, because politics and the government, civil service, are two different things. If you appoint somebody who doesn't even know how to write, UN ambassador or Africa Union representative there, a person is appointed on political lines, what can they do for the country?
Nothing.
So you need to know, and this is why I say, don't apologize.
Well, it's not necessarily apologizing, but it is trying to make the people understand. You are in church, pastor, you know, and you church people talk straight. And, you know, tell them, we politicians can't do that. It's costly. You have to find a way for a safe landing, because these things can cost you an election if you are careless with the way you talk. So we have to make our people understand, secure a buy-in from our people to understand that this is the process and this is what it will land us into, so that they understand, so that that misunderstanding that is giving birth to frustration and bitterness, it is cured. Because you also appreciate that in as much as government and politics are different, it is politics that give birth to government. Even for government to remain sustained, after 5 years, government has to continue. It has to go back to politics, to go and seek a mandate from the politics. So if you get it wrong with the politics, you get kicked out of government. So we are not necessarily apologizing, but we are explaining to our people so that we secure
information.
Yes,
that's
information, right. Dissemination, so that our people understand, we secure a buy-in from them, so that we move together. Yes.
This is what I'm saying.
And we are grateful for a platform such as this.
Absolutely.
And this takes us back to our earlier point, that instead of blaming the media, you must understand the role of the media. Your role is to provide the platform for us to provide the information, as we're doing now.
Because when you have educated people, for example, apart from you promising to unite the nation, you came on the platform to create employment.
Yes.
And I'm sure that before you came into power, you had data of how many are working, how many are not working, and how many you can create. You have that data.
Yes.
If you do, what are you doing in these first few months? What are you doing?
That is what we have been elected to do. So what informs our trajectory to create employment? The first document that informs our trajectory to create that employment is the budget.
The budget, yeah.
What are we budgeting for? Where are we moving the money, and where are we putting the money? Is it where our mouths are or not? So we start with the budget. This Friday, the president will present the budget. I'm deliberately saying the president, because the Minister of Finance, when he goes to Parliament to present the budget, his opening remark is that I am a bearer of a message from His Excellency the President. It's the President's budget. The Minister of Finance presents it to Parliament. So the President will present the budget this Friday through the Minister of Finance. You will see in that budget where money has been allocated and how it is deliberately growing an environment that will spark activity, that will create employment at the local level. Because our call, our rallying point is decentralization. And in decentralization, we are taking the money away from Lusaka and taking it straight to the district, straight to the constituency, straight to the ward, to the section, the branch, and so on, right to the people. And you will see, number one, from the amount allocated for constituency development fund. Number two, the policy accompanying the Constituency Development Fund, that all the 156 constituencies will receive the same equal amount, a substantial amount, but with a policy instruction, projects to be undertaken at local level by local people. So there are projects designed specifically that the youth in the locality must undertake, the women, the men, but the people in the local, so that when that money is used, it is consumed within the constituency. So that you don't have a situation like we've had in the past, where CDF is given, and before you know it, the crooks from Lusaka, who are claiming to go and do things there. He gets a contract to supply 2,000 desks. And he supplies 80 desks and disappears. And he's been paid for those 2,000 desks. It will not happen in this administration.
It used to happen?
It used to happen. It will not happen in this administration. The money will go where the people are. We are decentralizing. All these tenderpreneurs that have all they do is sit in Lusaka, look for tenders, and they have this cocoon and they work in cahoots with officers, and they always win the tenders, and they never deliver, and they get paid for it, and the government keeps losing money. Those days are gone. Remember, applying high standards to high office. The days of applying low standards to high office are gone. We are bringing in integrity. Therefore, the money is moving downwards. That will give you a picture of how we are beginning to create employment starting January. It will also give you a picture on what we need to do as business. The president, as agriculture, the president has been very clear throughout his political journey that agriculture is a business.
That's right.
Agriculture is a business. He himself is a successful businessman owing to agriculture. So he says people must understand that agriculture is a business, and this government will run agriculture as a business. That is why we said, and we still remain focused, that ours is not just focusing on the fertilizer or the farmer input support program, the FISIP. It's a bigger picture. It's an agriculture support program. FISIP is just but a component in there. It's bigger. We're talking about value addition there. We're talking about all aspects of agriculture, the entrepreneurial side of agriculture, the mechanical side of agriculture, ensuring that we mechanize our farmers, including the vulnerable poor farmers. We will be mechanized. They may not be mechanized with tractors, but they will be mechanized with plows. They may, right now, most of our farmers have got cows. I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to be derogatory, but they have cows that look like dogs. We are going to make sure we bring in the proper breed that farmers will have across the country that can plow, so that we increase in terms of hectareage and turn our country into a breadbasket. Because we have had enough of this talk. Agriculture, we must diversify. So here we have not come to talk, we've come to act. And that is why you've seen that even the Minister of Agriculture now, Honorable Tola Piri, the thing they did is when FRI had bought the 500,000 metric tons of maize, but there was still maize lying around, and the people didn't want to sell anybody else apart from FRI because the price was good, they were told to buy an extra 300,000 metric tons. Even after buying the 300,000 metric tons, still people only want to sell to FRI. So I said, FRI, go out there and buy, but open the doors. 1 million tons can be sold out to our neighboring countries. Private sector can participate, and the FRI is allowed to sell, I think, about 400,000 metric tons. I need to be corrected over that one. But that is for them to offset, so that then they end the forex, so that then they buy the maize. They buy the bags, supply the farmers, and buy the maize. So that the story of saying government does not have the money to buy that maize is not there. Because we are actors, we're not talkers. You remember there was that talk with maize, it's about to get rotten, it has died. Because we fixed this. Yeah, you've been to America many times, you hear people say,
absolutely,
we got this. So we fix these things. And we fixed that problem, and that is why you're not hearing the farmers complaining anymore. There are some that have not been paid, but I can assure them that they are being paid, because now maize has moved and dollars have come in, and they will be paid. FRA is basically going to pay them in a self-sustaining manner.
Well, dear Camnet TV viewers, in case you are watching us, especially those of you from Lundazi, Chipata, Chama, this side, Mule Umfuikisha, Mweva ku Eastern Province. I am in the studio with Mr. THABO KAWANA, who is a director, media director for UPND Alliance. And in case you are asking, Pastor, what are you discussing about? He's the media director. 3 months in power. Where are we at? If you want, take that as your topic. Those of you who have been to rigid schools, you just want a topic. But we are discussing a lot of things in here. And Mr. KAWANA, let me say that is not the president and is bringing this information, disseminating information to all of us so that we understand. And in a few minutes, I'll be opening the lines. If you think that I'm incapable of asking the questions to Mr. KAWANA, you can ask. We will be on WhatsApp, we'll be on Skype, we will be on Zoom, and our technical people will get the calls. Even you that are in the States, the last time we were here, you were saying, Pastor, we don't get through to your station. I'm sure our technical people are on standby for you today or tonight. Mr. KAWANA, before we go on break, you are talking about the things that you are doing as UPND and this. Do you believe, like I believe, that America was not developed by Zambians, Japan was not developed by Indians, but Japanese developed Japan, Chinese developed China? What about us Zambians? What is the position of the UPND? I know you are not speaking authoritatively as the president, but this is a general question. You are always with the president. What is the position about empowering Zambians in all sectors of life?
It is exactly that. The president has made it very clear. Even recently he was on Radio Phoenix, and he opened the phones and let the people talk to him directly. A thing that has never happened in this country, because presidents are scared to face the people.
Absolutely.
He has nothing to hide. He's the people's servant. And he says to the people, I'm here for you, so talk to me. Pick up the phone, no one will phone you, will follow you afterwards. Ask me what you want to ask. And the Zambian people have asked him, what is in it for us? And he has made it very clear that he started business at a semi-early age, almost going into his 30s. And his desire is that Zambians should become entrepreneurs by the age of 21. And he knows and he calls that Zambia must and shall, under his administration, be developed by Zambians. That is the whole essence of decentralization. To take the money away from the central location and take it to the people, so that the people themselves implement the programs, therefore in the process get empowered, and in the process bring the much needed development at the local level. Zambia will be developed by Zambians, and he wants to grow entrepreneurs such that by the time we are holding his exit parade in 10 years' time, as we salute him, we must say, well done, good and faithful servant. Look at that small entrepreneur that started with a small cantemba, is now a conglomerate and a big business person, employing thousands of people because of the environment you created. That is why you must watch him. All these creation of ministries such as small-scale entrepreneurs and so on, all these are designed to prepare the Zambian minds that Zambia will only be developed by Zambians. Therefore, let us nurture the youthfulness of our nation. Let us capture the energy of the nation and use it productively to not only prosper the nation, but ensure that we empower the young people so that the generations that are coming before us are finding a country fixed and empowered.
A few days ago, of course I saw on Camnet News, the people were crying that they campaigned, they suffered for UPND, and you have dumped them. Other people who have come and who are benefiting have come from other parties and they are enjoying this. What would you say to that?
I would say that we need to exercise a bit more patience. I know that it is beginning to sound boring and irritating to keep using the word patience. But we can't avoid it. It must be exercised. The president was sworn in on 24th. We voted on the 12th of August. Sworn in on the 24th of August. Yesterday was the 24th of October. He's only been in office for 8 weeks. Surely, how can you feel abandoned after 8 weeks? That's 8 weeks. You already feel abandoned.
How can you feel abandoned?
After 8 weeks. So, maybe using the word patience sounds maybe rude to some people, but tutekanye fi. Titekanye. Vamushe viluwera. Ifisuma filesa. Tekeni tuombe pakuba ati mumpere chance kateka avombe. Pakuba ati fintu fi kontroleke. Umpase chance msogoleri wasu. Aseweze nchito agwire nchito kuti vintu vinkhale bwino. Tinkhale bwino. That is what we need. But no mangati kupupumira yai so kuti chiti bwanji jalati nyobora kuno you can't work like that.
That's right.
Let's give the man an opportunity. We are only 8 weeks in office.
Only 8 weeks.
Even if we want to complain. How?
Oh, it's
Pastor,
performing a miracle.
Pastor, you marry a lot of people in your church. I'm sure that if a couple that you married 6-7 months ago comes to you and says,
2 weeks, and you say,
no, there's no child here.
There is no child.
The lady can complain to you, my mother-in-law is insulting me, I'm not giving her a grandchild. I'm sure you call the mother-in-law and you counsel them and you tell them, look, the children have just gotten married. There are many things to consider. They may not want to bear a child
They
now.
have to settle.
They have to settle. Yeah. They have to be economically
prepare
ready.
for the child.
Yes. Even if they are ready, it's a process to have a child. There are things you look out for. Symptoms. You know, you are seeing that things are happening. So even us, we are 8 weeks in office, but symptoms are showing. Cadres out. Police profession. It is showing that good things are coming. So good things are coming.
Oh, I'm with Media Director for UPND Alliance, Mr. THABO KAWANA. We'll take a break. And after the break, the lines will be open. Please feel free to open and to ask questions. And like I've said, this is not just another channel. Do not just phone to insult or irritate my guest. No, let's be progressive. This channel is for people with great minds, all of you watching who were born for greatness. Let's ask maturely and let's build this nation. We'll see you after this.
Are you a small to medium enterprise looking to advertise your products and services within your community and across Zambia? In these economic times, we are here to help you grow your business. Advertise with us on Camnet Market. Camnet Market is offering lower rates for prime time advertising between 06 to 18 hours every day to give your business an edge under the new normal and beyond. For more details, contact us on the following numbers: 097 975 3010 or 096 296 5883, as well as 096 244 726. You can also reach us via email on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Camnet TV is here to entertain, educate and inform you. Catch Rise and Thrive at 0730 hours every Saturday. Fresh and new praise and worship comes Monday to Friday at 8 hours. Kids need to be glued to the TV every weekday at 09 hours for their favorite cartoons. Off the pitch with the boys as they talk about sport on Saturdays at 0930 hours.
Remember, we are also here to entertain you with our different varieties of movies every weekday at 10 hours. Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chuluwa with Healing Word Ministries International Church live sermon every Sunday at 10 hours.
Katamanda brings to you another journey of gospel ministers on Saturdays at 10:30 hours. The verdict comes to your screens at 17:45 hours. Join the Revival Harvest Church every Sunday at 18:30 hours.
Every Monday to Saturday, join us on the news desk at 12 hours as we bring to you the midday news, and at 19:30 hours Central African Time every day for the main bulletin.
The ministry with Pastor Moses Chiluba comes every Friday at 20:45 hours. On Mondays, it's your favorite National Matters at 20:45 hours.
Wednesday and Thursday, Pastor Victoria and Moses Chiluba are on Partnership of Greatness with different spiritual teachings at 20:45 hours.
And Frank on Camnet comes to your screen every Tuesday at 20:45 hours.
Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Well, dear Camnet TV viewers, you are welcome. This is Pastor Chiluba on National Matters. And I am in the studio with Mr. THABO KAWANA, who is the Alliance UPND Media Director. And I want us to focus on something. Mr. KAWANA, I want to say this. I've heard a lot of criticisms that PF never did anything. PF, moneni fifima flyover bridge, valelete fima rubbish, especially aba kuchipata tabashwetsu na balanda tama lavish. But this is where I again disagree. You know, this country, where Dr. Kaunda left it, there should be systematic handover to President Chiluba, without saying, "Yo, Kaunda tabachitire if you what." Once he hands over, then Bachiluba, may he so rest in peace also, hands over to Levi Mwanawasa. You build up. You build up. I believe where PF strength stopped until the people said, "Go out," UPND comes. We have, or you have, a task now. Not to rubbish every work that PF did, but to build on, so that, as you are saying, 10 years, 5 years from now, people will say, and for sure, Zambia now is developed. My question is, are you inculcating the spirit of Zambianism in this nation, that just as much as we don't talk about Tongas, Bembas, no tribalism, one thing that I hate again, tribalism, but are you putting the spirit of a Zambian, hard work, so that we sing under that national flag, standing as one, building this nation? Are you doing that also, apart from politics?
In fact, that is the culture we are inculcating in the Zambian people. A culture of hard work. If you heard the sermon yesterday at the Freedom Statue by the Army Chaplain,
General Mwenya.
When he said that we must do away with the spirit of laziness. That is exactly what we are about. That is why we told the Kajas to leave the market. That you cannot wake up and go to the market and just start leaving people. You have to work hard. People will work and they'll earn money. That is why we are creating opportunities and creating employment. All these are driven by hard work. If there's no hard work, you can't have the opportunities. If there's no hard work, you cannot have employment created. So we are creating an environment where Zambians have to appreciate the hard work. Zambians are already hardworking people, but there's an episode in our lives where we became lazy and accustomed to free, easy money. And that's the episode we want to close and open a new chapter. And that's what this government is about.
Working
It's
hard.
about closing the chapter of laziness and freebies and free money to a chapter of working hard and earning money that you deserve.
Are there, I haven't read your manifesto, are there national projects that you have put? I don't know how your manifestos are. Are there?
National projects are there, especially in the area of agriculture. Watch the space. Watch what we are going to do with Zambia National Service. You will be impressed because agriculture will be a big business in this country and it will swallow a lot of people in the various facets of agriculture. Various.
Let's pick up this call, Mr. Kawana, from some caller. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you, Pastor Chiluba?
I'm permanently blessed and born for greatness. And yourself?
Yeah, well,
What's your name and where you calling from?
this is Mr. Mwanza. I'm calling from Livingstone.
Mr. Mwansa, you haven't greeted my guest.
Come again?
You haven't greeted my guest.
Yeah, I was coming to that. Good evening, Mr. Kawana.
Good evening, Mr. Mwansa.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we have been following the discussion for quite some time now. And I think I would like to concur with you that we Zambians really need to be patient and give our president enough time to settle in and play his cards properly. It means well for us, and it's just a matter of time. Things will start showing up. What I would like to tell you is that change does not come overnight. Change is a process. From stage A, you go to stage B, stage C, stage D, till we're going to say, aha, umuntu whatever you know, we even know that sometime before the elections, we were told that the Zambian economy is in the intensive care unit. Now, if it is in the intensive care unit, the economy cannot be revived overnight. There's plenty of stuff that is done, and systematically, slowly, things will start showing up. As Mr. Kawana put it, we really need to give our president all the support that is needed. He has to do his part, and us as Zambians will also have to do our part. I think for now that is the contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwansa. You've heard the comments from Mr. Mwansa. Is just complimenting you that we need to give the president and the government
and
time.
he has put it very correctly that if the economy was in the ICU, it can't just up and run.
After 2 months.
So when you have moved it from the ICU, you take it to the ward. And then from the ward, it becomes an outpatient.
You're discharged.
But continues with physiotherapy so that it eventually gets well. So we're in the process.
Okay. Mr. Kawana, I want to mention the telephone providers, or which one in particular. But do you check on the systems where I'm calling and it goes, wow, as if you are a witch, and the phone goes off. What do you do as government? Because that is very inconveniencing and embarrassing. If I was Minister of Communication, what happens to our phone? Maybe it's just my wife and I who experience that. Do you go through these?
Sometimes you find there's an echo. Sometimes you are talking and the other person can't hear you, or you can't hear the other person, but talk time is moving. Sometimes it's just as you are talking, the conversation just cuts abruptly. Sometimes sometimes there's just such a bad sound where that falls under the Ministry of Science and Technology. Because ZICTA is under the Ministry of Science and Technology. So we will beckon President Minister Mutati to look at his department, to see what are they doing about the service providers, because they have the audacity not even to apologize or explain to us as their consumers of their product.
Absolutely.
For them it's normal.
And they are getting the money.
Yeah, my money finishes without me achieving my conversation. For them it's normal. Now we need to bring people to book and make them account, because without our money they will not survive. Therefore, that is a service we are paying for. It is not free, and therefore we might get our money's worth and value. Therefore, we will beg on the Minister of Science and Technology to put his sector to task.
I always say to my wife that for sure Africa, no wonder we are behind like this. In America, this can't happen. It will just take one person to complain and sue you. Either you do the right thing, but here in Zambia, we are just used to the same substandard. I've brought that. Please take it up with your minister. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Who?
Good evening, Pastor Juba and Mr. KAWANA.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Pompundu from Kabwe.
Pompundu from Kabwe.
Yes.
Please go ahead and contribute to the nation.
Just help of Mr. KAWANA is one of the pillars of the government in power. We are even put on Mr. KAWANA.
Thank you very much.
Just because of the president, I think it would be nice for him to think of aligning certain positions. I think the solid growth minister is already occupied with a lot of duties and so forth. So we can THABO, UPND, as well as the rest portfolio. I think it would be nice to align certain activities to the president and the party to look into that. Otherwise, the anxiety is there, but we put that the people of your caliber in the land come to and give assurance to the people. It's very important. We also just wish the government folks in both sectors, particularly if you can get an opportunity of inviting now, because I think she's supposed to be the one to pick the policy and the direction of the new government.
To invite you?
He's helping and firefighting every time. When they get to know the hospital, he's not doing anything. I think it's quite helpful. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Mpundu, and thank you for your call. Have you heard Mr. Kawan?
Yes, I've heard. I also just want to say that first I'm grateful for the compliment, but also to say that the Minister of Information also has a lot of settling in to do and dealing with policy matters and so on. And so sometimes people may think that there's a gap, and that is why we sort of play that role to ensure that we keep the people informed. The season we live in now is a season of information, and if you stay quiet a week, wrong information flourishing, you won't catch up. So we have to do what we must do, but I can assure you that the minister is hands-on, she's steadfast, and very soon you begin to hear the minister now taking her rightful position. Not that she hasn't, she has. But remember, she has to deal with policy. She has to put, information deals with the perception. In politics, if you get the perception wrong, no matter how much work you put in, you won't get it right. So she has to deal with the policy issues. And so she may have her hands a bit full, but I can assure the people that very soon they'll be hearing a lot from the minister as we keep quiet.
Mr. Director, if there are some text messages, please, I would like to go with the flow. Good evening, Mr. THABO KAWANA. What is your advice to Zambians, UPND members, who have qualifications in diplomacy and international relations, but they can't access the president? As we are patiently waiting, we see shocking appointments to people who didn't encounter any police brutality and cadres. People who were in their comfort zones are now at the high table than genuine alliance members. This is serious, please. MK.
Well, MK, currently, there's no one who has been appointed in Foreign Service. Remember that everybody that goes out to Foreign Service is appointed by the President. And nobody has been appointed by the President to go into Foreign Service. There's been a few recalls. And also you remember that the President did mention a week or two ago that among the people that he had recalled, some people also added to the list of records and attempted to add to a list of replacements. Now, you cannot go into Foreign Service if you haven't been sanctioned by the President. So there's nobody who has been appointed into Foreign Service yet. So let's just hold steadfast.
Like you said, bola punch.
Bola punch. Fichiri ukutulea.
Following up this question, he said, what would you say to UPND members with qualifications in foreign diplomacy? I want to ask the same question from a different angle. What about those who are not UPND members?
I want to say to the Zambian people, and in doing so, I want to re-echo the President's words, that appointments will be on merit, and that they will be given to Zambians. That number one, primarily, for you to get an appointment, you must be a Zambian. Nothing like PF, UPN, you must be a Zambian. Number two, it doesn't matter your surname. Number three, it doesn't matter who your mother is, who your father is. And number four, you must be ably qualified to do the job.
You must be able.
Ably qualified.
Yeah.
So I want to say to all Zambians that are ably qualified that chances are there. And this includes UPND members that are qualified. So all Zambians that are qualified, including UPND members, chances are there. But remember, we all can't be in government. The government employs what? I think the last figure I heard was about 540,000. 2.8 million people voted for this government. So you can imagine if everybody had to get a job. You have 500,000 jobs, and you have 2.8 million people. So not everybody will get a job, but what this government is going to do is to create an environment and a working economy for everybody. And not the 2.8, but the 18 million plus Zambians. Yes.
Okay, I've just received, sorry it's not through this platform, I've received this question on my line. I want to read it for you. It says from Axon, of course, Kamfa. Good evening, Mr. Kawana. Kindly give us an assurance that UPND Alliance government will not backslide on the promise of lowering retirement age from 65 to 55. What's your take on that?
I think the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Honorable Brenda Tambatamba, is on firm ground. And it is important that we follow through what she is pronouncing as a policy for government. And also, I would encourage Zambians to take time to listen in to parliament debates, because these questions are asked and ministerial statements are given and follow-up questions are asked and the ministers answer. So I could say that, worry not, Axon, Minister Tambatamba is on top of things.
I want to go back to the previous person. It's just a comment. You know, Mr. Kawana, you as the government, you have an assignment to make the people believe that this is not about the party, it's about the nation. You have a carryover of the people who benefited from UNIP. Once you belong to UNIP, there were benefits. UPND, there were benefits. PF, there were benefits. Now you come to a so-called new dawn, where you are saying first Zambian. You know, I think I would not be surprised if you are insulted. Those who felt they were beaten for the cause of liberating, and they saw how their friends benefited in the past, and they are not benefiting now. You have a lot to educate a lot of the Zambians.
It's a huge mountain to climb to convince the people that retribution is not the way and vengeance must be left for the Lord. And that is why the president is very categorical. He doesn't mince his word, and he is repetitive on this matter. If it was bad done to us, it is bad for us to do it to others. So, the same way the president is saying that these guys that beat us up, arbitrarily arrested us, arbitrarily threw us in police cells for no apparent reason, we shouldn't do the same to them, because it injured us. It made us feel bad. So if we do it to them, it will injure them and to make them feel bad. And those that will come after us, after 50 years, will do the same to us. So it must stop somewhere. And the president has said he's the man for the job. He's stopping it, and it has stopped. It's the same way. If we saw that the people who held certain positions benefited, we must ask ourselves, what are those benefits? Fringe or unacceptable benefits? So if someone who held a particular position stole and we complained, we said, this one was our neighbor. All of a sudden he takes this position, he's driving brand new showroom vehicles, palama VX panganda hawa mdala wabalesa nomukulombe ya kunini na kulifwe. Lero panganda na wapati nama VX amaji. Clearly it shows that there is a dishonest living. Thief. What do we want to come and do? That even us, we must go on that and be the thief? Let us not be the new thieves. Let us not be the new savages. This is the price we will pay. Just like when we were gaining independence of this country, there were many people that sacrificed their lives. Some even lost their lands, their legs. Some became mentally, and so
let's
not everybody.
Let's pick up this call, Mr. Kawana. You continue. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Pastor. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
Permanently blessed.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Kawana.
Good evening, sir.
What's your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
Okay, my name is Clive Piri. I'm calling you from Chipata.
Clive Piri.
Yes.
From Chipata, Mwapusukene.
Yeah, I'm Clive.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Good evening, Mr. Kawana.
Yeah, Clive.
Yeah, I just want to ask Mr. Kawana. There's been a lot that has been said about empowering Zambians and small-scale businesses. I just want to ask, what policy framework are you using as the new dawn to empower small businesses in Zambia? I can cite, for example, some of the neighboring countries where they have a policy that has specific sectors of the economy which only citizens in that country can invest in those sectors so as to help the citizens build on their businesses in those sectors. And no foreigner can be allowed to do business in those sectors. I'm not going to mention names. So my question is, what policy framework are you, as the new Dawn government, riding on to achieve empowering more and more citizens, Zambian citizens, in this case, as this well? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clive.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. We will not reinvent the wheel. The laws are there. All we will do is implement them. We are a government of laws and not men. The laws have been there, but they've been disregarded with impunity. There are sectors that are preserved for Zambians and Zambians only, and they are stipulated in the law. They are stipulated by policy, but they were ignored by past regimes. This regime will not ignore those. Will implement what the law says. Will implement what the law says in the Citizens Economic Empowerment Act. Will implement what the law says in the Zambia Immigration Act. Will implement what the law says in the Zambia Development Agency Act. Will implement what the law says in the Land Policy and Utilization. So you heard the president, for example, he was meeting the chiefs last week in Chisamba. And he said to the chiefs and the headmen, don't sell land to the foreigners. They are not entitled to buy land. If they want to bring investment, they are welcome. They can bring the capital. But they must be in partnership with the Zambian, whose equity in the business is the land. And they bring the capital. But don't give access, sell land to foreigners. Because the law is there. Foreigners shouldn't own land in here. But now we have foreigners with the audacity of even buying huge tracts of land,
including graveyards,
in traditional areas, and then putting it on title, and demarcating it and selling to us Zambians at exorbitant prices. And so on, but all those, it's done. Always remember, the era of applying law standards to high office is gone. So, Mr. Piri, I want to assure you that we are not going to reinvent the wheel. The law is there, the policies are there, we will simply implement.
You know what you are saying, Mr. Kawana, I've got church members, and one of them is Jomasa, still in Ethiopia. You are not allowed as a foreigner to own land, not even a small piece like this. It's for Ethiopians. And the laws there, no wonder they are doing what they are doing. The economy is so strong, stable, because they allow only Ethiopians. But here, it's something that I've been talking about. Why do foreigners have access to junk lands? 10,000. The other time we went with my wife, a foreigner here owns about 20,000 hectares of land, and Zambians don't have. I think that is lawlessness.
Serious lawlessness. That person procured that land from traditional leaders. Maybe bought it for 100,000 kwacha.
Less than that, actually.
20,000 hectares. Then goes to ministry and gets title. How did the Ministry of Lands process title for a foreigner? Then now he even subdivides. Then he sells one small portion like this for 300,000.
And that is.
And the guy sits pretty, making money off us on our land. It's gone. That era is gone.
Sure.
Oh, no, I can assure our foreigners, we are coming for you. Oh, no. This is not harassment. It is not xenophobic. It's a simple question. Are you a Zambian? No, sir. Oh, okay. You own this land? Yes, I own it. Oh, okay. Here's the law. Read it for us. What does it say about foreigners and land? It says if I'm a foreigner, I can't own land. Is this still your land? We are going for them.
I think you will do well. When you are going, invite me to go with you. That's a very good thing. There is a question here, Mr. Kawana. Good evening, Mr. THABO Kawana. What is your information on a police station rubbing the name of Nathan Chanda in Luansha by UPND cadre? What action do you take as an alliance?
Well, to start with, about the police announced 3 cadres so far have been arrested that took part in the defacing of the police station. We must also understand the emotions of the people, but it is not an excuse to behave in a lawless manner, because what they did is unlawful, it is a public nuisance, and there are laws that stipulate that shouldn't be done and punishment meted thereafter. So they've been arrested. But also we must understand and appeal to our colleagues that when you name a public property after yourself, you must be careful, because that thing was built using corporate social responsibility funds, not pocket money from an individual. So it was also folly for that individual to go and put his name there. So they went and rubbed off his name, and but basically they took the law into their own hands. And because this is a government of laws, and the president has said you break the law, you're on your own, regardless of which political party, including if you belong to our political party, you face the music. The police announced 3 people have been arrested so far, meaning there are more people to be arrested and brought to book.
Let there be order for that also. Give us some text messages, Mr. Director. Why can't we have national service recruit grade 12 as in the 90s, and the issue of community service by inmates, those who were jailed because of cannabis? Our country is too dirty. Why can't you engage those people in cleaning the streets in towns? Why can't you also ban the Chinese from brewing cachaso?
I'm very shocked about Chinese brewing cachaso, Mambara. Someone can come from China to come and brew cachaso. Pastor, I don't know how much nyanja you know, but it's when you put.
Let's pick up this conference. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm very fine.
Hello?
Yes. Good evening, sir.
What's your name and where you're calling us from? Sichali from Luansha.
Yes, please.
I'm with my guest here, Mr. THABO KAWANA. Are you greeting him or no?
No, just evening.
Or you greeted him? You see what I was talking about, the
network.
The network. Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, please. I'm getting.
Mr. Sichali, go ahead and speak. We're here.
Yes, please.
Mr. Sichali, sorry about that. Allow me to cut the call because they are going international, they are going everywhere, and you didn't hear what he was saying, eh?
No.
Let's have a clear reception. Sorry about that.
Yes, back to the text.
Back to the text.
He talked about cachaso brewing, which is unfortunate. He talked about the prisons using inmates to clean, and that program is ongoing. Like I said, there will be no reinventing of the wheel. Institutions and individuals on your farms, I do that myself on my farms. When it's time for cultivation, I go and pay at Kamfinsa prison, and they take inmates there to go and work on my farm. So people are free to go to prison and ask for a specified number of inmates to go and work. So even institutions are free. Even the council is free. If they have no manpower to clean the cities and so on, they can go to prisons and get the people to clean, and they pay the prisons very little. You pay very little to do that. So if Zambians didn't know, even when you have a farm and there's just you and your wife and you're thinking, where am I going to get laborers and so on, it's easy. Go to the prison facilities and ask. They'll give you 20, 30 people with prison water, and you pay the subscribed fee. It is very little, very affordable, and you can have the inmates work on your farm. For ZNS, I just want to tell him that watch the space. Oh, no, watch the space. We are coming with ZNS.
Because I'm glad you're talking about ZNS, because ZNS, they have the equipment.
Yes.
I mean, equipment and equipment.
Yes.
It's just rotting.
Yes.
And you wonder why we should contract.
They hire it out, and some of it is just within. ZNS can do anything in this country, from agriculture to roadworks to construction.
Anything.
So watch the space, how ZNS will be utilized. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel. That is why the equipment is there.
You are just using
We are
what is
just
there.
implementing what ought to be done. Because somebody was negligent, or some regimes were negligent. We won't be negligent. We will utilize them for what they ought to be used.
Give us another text, Mr. Director. Let's accommodate as many. Good evening, Reverend Chiluba. As civil servants, we are happy that we voted out PF. Please make a quick follow-up on people that have plundered the resources of the nation. Very few should not be benefiting the country's resources. We need a reasonable increment as per your promise. From Vashi Junior Sambo.
Vashi Junior, I want to assure you that there is this feeling that we are letting go of PF, people who store national resources, and we are giving them chance to bury evidence and so on. It's not like that. The president was very categorical in his instruction to his men and women in uniform and the law enforcement agencies that they must desist from arresting people that they are still investigating. They must investigate fully, establish a prima facie case. By the time they move into arrest, it's because they are ready to go to court. So they investigate, they produce their findings before the Director of Public Prosecutions or the National Prosecuting Authority, and if a go-ahead is given to prosecute, they move in and arrest, so that the person is immediately taken to court. We don't want that situation we had, where people were kept in custody for months on end, because the police are still investigating, but you have arrested someone and kept him there. So right now there are a few characters who feel free and feel like, nothing will happen.
It's just a question of time.
It's a question of, at that time is very soon. I've also seen that there's a big outcry when it comes to the way the issue of Faith Musonda was handled. That an amnesty was extended to her and they grabbed the money and the property. I just wanted to reiterate that that is not only because it is a law in our country, but it is standard worldwide.
It's standard?
It's standard worldwide. The world over, it is part of fighting corruption. Where you give, I'll give you an example of Brazil, for example. You know, when there was President Lula there, when he left office, he had left his former Minister of Finance, the lady Rousseff, as president. And they found that there was a lot of corruption during Lula's time, using that oil marketing, the oil company, the state one. And they siphoned over $10 billion in corruption. And what they did was to offer an amnesty for people to bring back what they have stolen and what they own through dubious means. And they have managed to recover about $3.6 billion. Now, the way you use that law is that you use it hand in hand with prosecution. So some that are able to come forth, you recover the money, you recover the assets, you recover the property on behalf of your people. And those that are adamant, want to hide, those ones, you go for them. You go for them, you prosecute them. So it doesn't mean that you have given up one system for the other. These two systems are implemented simultaneously. That is why you have seen that again in Brazil. The former president himself, Lula, in 2018, was sent to prison for 12 years. Even their former deputy speaker of the National Assembly there is in prison, and about 4 former constitutional court judges are in prison for corruption. So it doesn't mean that when you hear Vice President Almango on the floor of the House telling the PF that, look, own up, bring back what you have stolen, and they are laughing. Keep laughing. Because she's very clear, she has said to them, bring before the law follows you. That is a very good opportunity for you to come out. But if you say, keep laughing.
Now tell me, Mr. Kawana, if I'm PS or director in some government and I store, because one of the things that we keep on seeing is that the Auditor General reports, the amounts, nobody is prosecuted for that. And you wonder, why bring out things if you know you are not going to follow the people?
Because the Office of the Auditor General has a constitutional mandate to do that. So our government, the way we deal with that issue is twofold. It's prevention and curative. Prevention in the sense that you will see a strengthening of the Office of the Controller of Internal Audit, so that these issues are curbed before they actually happen. The internal auditors must be able to stop this, because we have had this rubbish going on for a long time, because among the people that exacerbate this behavior are internal auditors. They work in cahoots with the criminals. They too are criminals. So we have to strengthen the Office of the Controller of Internal Audit, so that the internal auditors are able to, it is a duty of the internal auditor when a payment is being passed, it is a duty of the internal auditor to peruse and see, are all the documents attached? Yes. Is this the right price? Are these quotations genuine? Can I follow up on these quotations? Is this from your shop? Is this, so that by the time the auditor says pay, they have done their due diligence.
Sure. Yeah.
But these are the same people who pass on fake documents, just say pay. Because now, what do you have now? That will not be tolerated under this regime. So we are going to strengthen the Office of the Controller of Internal Audit as a preventive measure, so that we have now what one would refer to as a prophylactic approach. Then curative, in that this time around, you see people appearing before the Public Accounts Committee and Parliament, and issues are raised. And you can see all these glaring things, like the things we saw with Chairman Howard Kunda, who authorized those things. This time around, you see officers walking out of there. Those that concern ACC, they'll find them outside waiting. Those that concern DEC, they'll find them outside waiting. So as they come out of pack, a small word, let's go to officers. It will be dealt with. That pilferage you have seen, the thing you will see as the years go by of the UPND Alliance in office, you will see a drastic reduction in the thickness of the Auditor General's report to a point where it will be a page. Because we will not tolerate pilferage and abuse of public resources.
Whether you are UPND, PF...
Maka UPND. We really want to, because of UPND. You will not even smile upon, or frown upon you. Because that is betrayal of the trust of the people of Zambia. They didn't say remove the green thieves and put the red thieves. They said remove the thieves and put people that are genuine. So if you are also a thief and you want to operate under this regime as such, you will not be given a chance. You will be dealt with.
Mr. Director, some few text messages so that we can accommodate people. Those of you that are calling, please call. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Mr. Kawana. My concern is on national unity. Why can't President HH invite or allow President Lungu to officiate at one of the national programs such as Independence and National Day of Prayer, so that we see the current president walking the talk? Secondly, what positive things is UPND learning from PF? Unity and the lesson from PF.
I think for unity we spoke about the very 2 days, Independence Day and Day of National Prayer.
Maybe I'd never tuned in.
Yes, we said that President Lungu was invited. On National Prayer, he chose to pray at another venue and at the showgrounds. For Independence Day, he was invited. He didn't show up, but that's why you saw former Vice President Nyonge Wina was there, former Inspector General Kanganjan, all former leaders were there, because everybody was invited, so he didn't show up. But one thing I may say, without authority, so that I may even be held responsible for, is I think watch the space, especially for international engagements and assignments. Watch the space between these two leaders.
You see the problem, Mr. Kawana. Not that I'm defending your government. I think as Zambians we are too judgmental. There was a time when my wife and I, we started this broadcast as usual. We are only 5 years now. 5 years and 1 month, because we started on the 7th of September. 5 years ago. We have a vision. Up to now, we haven't offloaded every program. So we started with my wife preaching, sitting here, and the people would say, this TV is just for my wife and I. And they would criticize us, talk about us. And I kept on saying, please give us chance. Give us chance. That time, Mr. Kawana, we only had 3 cameras. We could not start the news. We could not do anything. We appealed to Zambian people, very good Zambian Cabinet followers. There are people even up to now, Mr. Kawana, who send 20 kwacha, who send 100 kwacha. There's one lady, she's so faithful. 100 kwacha comes in every month, no matter what. And it's people like those who help us. We are not on government support. Geneset, you have diesel, a lot. In short, today there are few people talking about the same thing. People don't understand that to grow something, it takes time. Yes. They just want you to open the TV, give us 24/7 programs, and it must be top of the range. We started our news in the, that was last year, 4 years of operation. We started our news, and today, by the grace of God, we are putting one of the best news in the country.
It is the best news in the country, because this is the news we all watch, because this is the news where we all watch ourselves. So even us in opposition looked forward to 1930 because we knew that our message would be captured. So even now, as you can see, the opposition have a lot of airplay on your news. So even myself as media director, my role is to listen to what the opposition are saying. Just today before I came here, I was listening to Given Lubinda talking about the borrowings and so on cabinet. So if we do not listen to what the opposition are saying, we will not be aware of what is going on and what they're saying. So you have the best news because it captures the politics, but most importantly, the community news. The news that ordinarily on other stations, maybe for example, the public broadcaster would not tolerate a certain story because it doesn't carry value. But you see it on Camnet. And the community are looking forward to watch Camnet News because their plight will be addressed on that news and brought to light. There are people personally I have helped through your newsroom. I've seen people come through with various problems, some almost emergency. When I have a little something, I call your newsroom, can you connect me to that person? Or I tell them, come to the office, collect this money, go and give that person I saw on your news. That is because the news carries everybody, the vulnerable, the affluent, the voiceful, and the voiceless. So your product speaks for itself. Your product will sell itself. So we are grateful for the kind of news we get on Camnet.
We are so grateful. Please give us 4 text messages. Let me read them, and then I'll allow Mr. Kawana to say what he has to say before we close. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and the guest tonight. Does the government have any plans to carry out inspections in working places, such as companies, to check the number of unqualified foreigners working in these foreign companies and getting huge salaries for jobs, which can easily be done by locals? Our immigration department is corrupt to the core. This is Evans Kalulushi.
One of the problems that brings that displeasure among the people is that when a foreigner is when a foreigner is applying for a work permit, they attached their qualifications, and they also state the position they want to work on. So, for example, you find that the man is coming to work as, for argument's sake, production manager, and this is because this company has installed state-of-the-art equipment that require a certain expertise, and the guy has the papers and the expertise for that machinery which has been imported. And for the company to grow, they want to bring in that technician or whatever. So you find that he applies for work permit, he's granted what you would call a conditional work permit, where it says you work for 2 years, but in these 2 years train a Zambian, so that then the Zambian takes over from you after 2 years. The character comes in the country, and you find him sitting in the office as general manager. And he's nowhere near the machine. He's nowhere near the plant. So this is what Evans is talking about. And his salary is that of a general manager and not of the production manager. So Evans is correct. So now it is the job of the Ministry of Labor, because immigration would have done its due diligence by giving a permit for someone to go and work on the machine. So how will immigration know if that person is working on the machine or not? Or not. It is the Ministry of Labor. The labor inspectors now go around the companies. And when they find you seated as general manager, they greet you. Good afternoon, Mr. General Manager. May we have a look at your permit? And the permit has a position stated there, production manager. Production, you are GM here. So it is now upon our Ministry of Labor and the labor inspectors, because in the past we have had serious reports of labor inspectors being very corrupt and compromised.
I know that.
Again, in this regime, that will not be tolerated. If a company is found out that there are people, foreigners, working in positions that they didn't apply for, we will check which inspectors visited and passed. So those foreigners who have their permits revoked, but the officers who went there, the ones. So there will be no, I'm sorry to use the word, but there will be no nonsense.
No, you have our support, because like Evans has said, my wife and I flew from Ethiopia on this Ethiopia line. I thought those Chinese would remain in Zimbabwe before we came here. Only Zimbabweans came out. We had about 140 Chinese. They all came and
disembarked in Zambia.
Yes, disembarked. So I said to the immigration officers, I said, in the Kenai, so that, Pastor, I'm not Zambian, if not in a Charlie Boboka. Every plane brings the Chinese. And you wonder, President Kaunda had that policy that if you're an engineer and there's a Zambian engineer, there is no way you can get a permit. You give the engineers Zambian. That
immigration issues conditional permits or permits on condition, and also it's only 2 years, nothing more. After 2 years, you must apply for renewal. It is at the point of renewal that the immigration will ask you, where is the Zambian you are training? And therefore, they will reject your application for renewal. And the reason they will give you for rejecting is clearly stipulated. Your permit has been rejected for Zambianization. It's as simple as Zambianization. So those that keep finding their permits renewed, despite having a permit having a condition, then we have a problem with immigration. But those that are going into companies and doing the jobs that they did not apply work permits for, but doing other jobs, we have a problem with the Ministry of Labor.
Oh. Mr. Kawana, it's wonderful having you here. Time is just too short. But anyway, to the Zambians concerning your government and what you are doing before we close.
Yes, my final word to the Zambians is that they must give an opportunity to this government, and particularly to President Hakainde Hichilema, that give him time. It is a process he's going through. He means well for this country. And for him, it is not just about doing the thing, but it is about doing the right thing. You may be anxious now, you may be frustrated now, you may be upset now, but a time is coming, and very soon, that you appreciate the process that he is undertaking. Therefore, I call on you Zambians to give time to your government to deliver unto you that which you are pregnantly expecting, and we will ensure that we quench it. In the end, I want to say what I always say on every program. The future of this country belongs to both the young and the old. But in the final analysis, it belongs to the young. It is therefore incumbent upon the young to behave responsibly so that we are able to keep this country growing for the future generations to come. I thank you very much for the opportunity to have featured on your program.
Thank you, Mr. Kawana, and we are so grateful, Camnet TV viewers. I know we are into news time. I'm so grateful for my guest on behalf of my wife, who is the CEO, and on behalf of the church leadership for the privilege of giving me the opportunity to interview Mr. Kawana. You were born for greatness. Keep watching Kamnet TV. Remember, Kamnet TV is not just another channel. Bye-bye.